I love this thing when you sort of these change management firms come in. It's like, people fear change. No, they do not. People fear sudden change. People fear uncertainty, right? That's what people fear. Change is not the problem. It's how we do change that's a problem. And one of the things I think almost every organization on the planet, big or small, can do better is communicate, right? Because communication, honest communication, like if you don't know the answer, don't lie. Everybody knows you're lying. It's like your kids know when you're stressed out, even you're like, everything's fine, right? And you're saying that so your kids will feel better, but they know you're lying, and it makes them more stressed because they don't know why you're lying to me, right? It's the same at work. And one of the big mistakes companies make is they don't bring the people along the journey, right? So for example, this is what usually happens. For months, somebody in the higher, all the way up in the top will say, I had this idea in the shower this morning. What do you think about this? And then the next day, somebody goes, I was thinking about that idea you told me about. I think you're right. The world around us is changing. We need to be aware of that insight that you told me. And then somebody else goes, what if we did this? And like 3 or 4 months later, somebody's like, this is a great new strategy. I think we should do this strategy. And then all of a sudden the strategy is announced. But it took months to get there and everybody went on the journey. So It wasn't so sudden for the executives. But all of a sudden it's like, we have an announcement. We're changing directions. And everybody's like, what happened with the other direction, right? Bring people along. Say, hey, we're thinking about this. We had this insight. We're not sure what to do with it, but it's interesting. Because by the time you get to the announcement, I don't believe in ta-das, right? Like, wait for it, ta-da, right? Look how smart we are, right? I believe that the way effective communication works is you bring people along on the journey, you include all the uncertainty, that allows you a lot of flexibility. Be like, yeah, we abandoned that idea, right? It allows you a lot of flexibility, and by the time you get to the ta-da, everybody's like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. Of course.
Right.
Of course. So you're going to have a lot fewer people. Because the reason you get resistance to changes of strategies is not because people necessarily disagree with the strategy, it's because they're afraid how it affects them. It's just insecurity and fear.
Communication.
It's just communication.
Open transparency.
And again, it doesn't mean you have to be right. And when people ask questions like, why are you nervous? Or do you know the answer? It's okay to say, we've thought about that, but we don't have an answer yet. But like you, we're not sure. We'll get back to you. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that. It just makes people relax as opposed to giving some nonsense answer that everybody knows is a nonsense answer. So I think open and honest communication and bring people along on the journey and ask for help. Because the people at the top, this is David Marquet's work, people at the top have all the authority and none of the information. And people at the bottom have all the information and none of the authority, right? And so you want to close those gaps, because if you're looking to change how to implement a strategy, it's good for senior people to come up with strategy, but implementation of strategy, go to the front lines and say, how would you do this? In fact, start having those questions before you lay it in stone, because you might find out you lay it in stone and then it's unimplementable.
Learn about it before.
Bring frontline people into the meetings and say, what do you think?
Yep.
And then you'll feel that everybody's along for the ride.
So I think we've done a good job of trying to do that so far. I feel really good, and hopefully people agree with that, because we definitely engage.
And if they disagree, they can simply raise their hand and say, can I ask you a question?